All right, welcome back to SF Vortex. We are still in the war room with Nancy Mullins, Robert Burnett, and Anthony C. Ferrante. Let's go to a viewer letter, shall we, gang?
Go.
Okay.
Go.
One of our viewers, Scott Henry, writes, I don't find films based on Clive Barker's work, for example, to be scary because there's nothing I can relate to. Interesting letter. Nancy, how does this tie into Cronenberg's library? What do you think?
Well, for one thing, everyone in America can relate to cars and sex and technology. It's an age-old theme. Okay. And that's also something for people that is very, very terrifying because they're afraid of sex, afraid of sexuality because of the old puritanical thing that's been going in this country for a long time. And on the other hand, they're terrified of technology. So this is a double threat because it keeps people in their seats and makes them watch both.
Anthony Ferrante, people are really scared of their own sexuality? Everybody scared?
Well,
terrified.
I mean, you assert a lot of different things, but I mean, I think being scared of a Cronenberg film is more on a subconscious level because Cronenberg deals with things that maybe you don't want to confront. I mean, Videodrome, he's talking about, this is way before Video Revolution, that, you're becoming interactive with your TV and concepts that are now becoming reality, virtual reality and all this kind of stuff. Sexuality, of course they're afraid of sexuality, or this movie wouldn't have been so controversial. Well, people don't know how to handle sex in films. Here's an big example.
Cronenberg has never been apologetic about his sexuality. He's always dealt with strong sexual
what's your
themes,
example?
and that's why people are scared.
Here's my example. Lord of Illusions, I was talking with Clive Barker about this. When the movie test screened, there was a sex scene, and it was actually one of the best sex scenes I've ever seen because there wasn't a lot of sex, but it was very tender and very nice. Test audiences booed it. They laughed and giggled, and they cut it out of the film because audiences couldn't handle the sex and the horror. And what Cronenberg does is he says, here, I'm putting this in there, and I'm putting this other stuff.
It's all about sex. It's all about fear.
It's about penetration, knives going into people and stuff.
Yeah, but how do you account for the eroticism in this film,
I mean,
too? How do you account for the eroticism in this film, too? Because it's not just sex and horror, and that also goes back to Frankenstein and Clive Barker and all the way through with horror equals sex and all that kind of thing. But this is also a very, very strongly erotic film. And
Extremely.
as a woman sitting in the audience, that was not lost on me.
But do you really find the movie erotic simply because it has sexual content? Did you find it to be erotic? I mean, is it something you conjure up later on after you left?
It pushes the envelope because it goes one step further. And the whole concept of talking about what is it in the movie, the manipulation of the human body by modern technology gets into the whole area of self-mutilation. They go into homoeroticism. I mean, they're going into a whole lot of areas that, first of all...
And basically Cronenberg's saying, bring it all on. It's all good. All the varying forms of sexuality. Back to his early works when he coined the phrase omnisexuality.
And it really gives people something
he loves it all.
to hate. It really gives them something to hate.
He said that he loves it.
How about now, okay, Cronenberg in this movie, people who get off on car accidents, James Spader basically having sex with Rosanna Arquette's leg in the backseat of a car, let's face it. Is he going too far here? Has he taken it too far, Anthony?
Okay, here's the thing. He's not taking too far because, as he said before, to go far, he would show a close-up of the wound that he penetrated. That scene is done in a very sexual way. You don't see anything gratuitous, and that shows restraint. I mean, if he wants to offend people, this thing could have been like,
absolutely.
wall to wall.
Nancy, too far? What do you think?
No.
Oh, you had to think about it, though, for a minute, didn't you?
No, not too far. Not too far. I question the level of filmmaking as opposed to the idea that it's a great concept and certainly came from the book, and it's a great concept that Cronenberg has not always done a very effective job with in terms of occasionally they have to go to a sex scene just to keep the storyline going, and that doesn't really work.
See, I don't think that's true.
I don't think the story is the sex
every
scenes
sex
in
scene
this film.
tells something.
Yeah, aside from establishing the relationship that Deborah Unger and James Spader's characters have in the film, it also, I mean, each sex scene progressively takes James Spader deeper and deeper into believing Vaughn's psychopathology BS line that he's delivering.
Well, that's the only character that James Spader
But that's the whole thing. Cronenberg's movies are all about...
every man who gets pulled into some kind of weird
But that's what Cronenberg's movies are about. They're about sort of off-kilter individuals like Max Wren in Videodrome or Oliver Reed's Dr. Hal Raglan in The Brood, bringing Samantha Eggar into this bizarre cult.
That makes Vaughn the protagonist of this film.
I gotta get out of here. Can you believe it? We're out of time already? That's it? I gotta go to a break. Thank you very much for coming, Robert Meyer Burnett, Nancy Mullins, Anthony C. Ferrati, want to thank you all for being here. Don't go anywhere, folks. There's plenty more in the Vortex in just a moment.